Majority Whip and member of the House Financial Services Committee, Minnesota Congressman Tom Emmer joins me. Good evening, sir. And I bet you take issue with my read saying that the Republicans did do the job with Limit, Save, and Growth Act on the debt ceiling.
Yeah, I don't take issue. I will just point out, though, that one body in Washington has done its job and has been responsible. Kevin McCarthy and the new House Republican majority since the beginning of this year are the only ones that have been leading. Greta, and we did almost 2 weeks ago now, this Wednesday it will be 2 weeks, we passed a debt ceiling solution that, quite frankly, would do a lot to putting this country back on path to being prosperous again.
All right, I'll take a little bit of issue, though, because we hit the debt ceiling in January and just passed a little bit. I realized that Secretary Yellen has been doing what I call extraordinary remedies, which I say is running around the living room, lifting up the cushions to see where there's money to pay our bills, see if there are any coins that dropped out. Okay, so tomorrow, the leaders are going to meet with the president at the White House. The president's been adamant that he would have vetoed, he will veto your bill should it ever end there, but the Senate's going to block it for you, the Democratic-controlled Senate. So what do you anticipate happening tomorrow?
Actually, I think tomorrow is going to be more bluff and bluster, but I don't mean to speak for our speaker, Kevin McCarthy. To your point that the debt limit expired earlier, and we've been in this extraordinary measures situation for several weeks, if not months, Kevin McCarthy, the second this Congress started, asked the president to sit down and discuss this. President said he would. Didn't happen. St. Patty's Day, same thing. Letter went out before the end of March. The White House has done very little. So tomorrow...
Why?
You'd have to ask them. You and I have had this conversation. There's absolutely nothing happening in the Schumer Senate. They passed, I think the most consequential thing they've done this year is declare March as maple syrup month. They have done nothing in the Senate.
So I interrupt you. Tomorrow is what? So what do? They sit around and look at each other in the Oval Office?
No, I think Kevin McCarthy goes in and says, we have passed the solution to the debt ceiling. It's sitting over in the Senate. If you don't have a solution, pass it. It'll put this country in a good place. We can get on with the appropriations process where we're going to have to try and figure out how to solve a budget that right now spends $1.29 for every dollar we're bringing in. And I think that the White House, and I'm not sure about the Senate, I don't know if they're going to bring ideas. I think what Kevin McCarthy would listen to is if they came in and said, we like this, we don't like that, this is what we propose. Then maybe Kevin McCarthy might have something to come back and talk to House Republicans about. If there's none of that coming, Greta, the country's on the verge of default. Republicans have solved the problem, passed the bill.
All right. The Republican proposal, and I'm asking you because you're here, not Democrats, not here, but is only until, I think, March of 2024. So it's sort of a temporary stopgap. Why was that date stolen? Why selected?
Mostly because we believe through this and the appropriations process that we won't need to raise the debt ceiling beyond that. You'll be able to start to get spending under control. Greta, this is more than a one-step process. The president continues to conflate the budget with the debt ceiling. The debt ceiling is all about getting spending reforms, which in the last 30 years, sadly, the only real spending reforms we've seen in this country have been the result of debt ceiling negotiations. But in this case, the first thing is to get us to the next step, which will be make sure that we don't default on the debt, which Republicans have solved, then start to work on the appropriations process. 12 appropriations bills through the House, through the Senate, and across the president's desk, Greta. That's what we're supposed to do every year. Last time it happened was 1994.
All right, so the president has dug his heels in, and he says no. Now what?
Well, he said no earlier to overturning the D.C. crime bill, to stopping the perpetual COVID state, and he reversed himself. I think you'll see that if the president comes in and it has to deal with leadership, he's going to have to sit down and talk, or you're going to have to pass the bill that Republicans have put in the Senate.
House Majority Whip, Congressman Tom Emmer, thank you. And what you should know, viewers, is we trash talked about the Packers and the Vikings just as he sat down. But anyway, we'll have that discussion another time. Coming up.